Hey guys, welcome to episode 10 of The Doctor and the Dork. This is Frank here with Olivia.
Hi everyone.
So this week we have a guest on. His name is Tyler. He's going to be appearing at the end of the podcast. Well, I should say after our week in review and us talking very briefly here because that runs on for a little bit. But I think you guys are really going to enjoy that this week. I know Olivia and I certainly did. So let's get into our week in review, I guess, real quick. Olivia, you want to take it off?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of our weekend in review, which is all right. So, Friday, it took us a while to remember what we did a whole few days ago, but we finally remembered.
Yeah, you guys ever have that problem where you're sitting there trying to think and you're like, there's a solid 4-hour gap of my life that is missing, and I know I did something, but I have no recollection of it? Well, that was the both of us today, trying to think of what we could have possibly done.
Truth. But so to kick off our weekend, we went to the Front Porch Brewing Company, and I was really hoping they were going to have strawberry crop circles. I think that's what their brew was called.
Yeah, that's that really good one.
We went there in November when we had that, so maybe I still got a few more months. But we had a nice flight. They had a ton of sours, so if you like sours, get over there. We had a delicious
finger
one.
guns. That was the name of that one.
I didn't like finger guns. Frankie, finger guns was his favorite. My favorite was that beer jareen.
Oh no,
what
that
was where we can't even remember where we went on Friday.
It's something tangy.
But it tasted just like a creamsicle / mimosa.
And by the way, they're based out of Wallingford, Connecticut, right off of Route 5, guys, in case you didn't know. Again, the name is Front Porch Brewery. Definitely worth a stop in. They have a nice mix of beer and table games and old school games like the Nintendo 64?
Yeah, I don't know if they have those right now during Coronavirus.
No,
season.
That's probably put up. But they have the board games still. So that's
people were still
they have a TV.
games.
They put good TV shows on the whole time, or classic movies.
Yeah. So then after there, we headed to the cider mill. Wallingford
No,
cider.
that's
What's
the
it
New
called?
England Cider Company.
New England Cider Company.
Yes.
We got a flight of cider.
Let me tell you guys, if you've never been, the flight of cider for 2 of them will run you about, I think it's $11 a flight, which sounds expensive, but you get 6 drinks. Yeah, you get 6 drinks on each flight, and it was worth it. I have to say, I like their flight. Honestly, that was one of my favorite times getting a flight.
Yeah, because they're all so pretty. It's a very picturesque flight. There's so many different flavors. My favorite was the strawberry, which I guess isn't surprising since I wanted the strawberry beer.
I'm trying to think.
You like the black currant one.
Yeah, the black currant, and there was another blueberry.
Okay.
Yeah, their flagship one, the freshly blend or fresh blend.
There was one that was not great, but the watermelon. And I was so excited because I love a watermelon margarita.
Well, the watermelon was supposed to be raspberry, I thought.
No, the strawberry.
Strawberry was supposed to be raspberry. Yeah. So it was the watermelon one was not that good.
No, but besides that, 5 out of 6, you can't really
that's
complain.
not too bad. No, so guys, they're also based out of Wallingford, Connecticut, conveniently right up the street from Front Porch, so you can do a little brewery hop right there. Mm-hmm. And then there's, of course, pool and axe throwing right in that area, but we didn't do any of that.
No.
This past week has been very bland, I have to say.
Yeah, we did go out, though, on Saturday for dinner. I'll get there eventually.
Okay.
We went to Texas Roadhouse, to which we put our names in ahead of time because we figured there was going to be a long wait because, this whole corona thing, all the restaurants have to space out their tables 6 feet and to, prevent the spread of these respiratory droplets.
Let me tell you guys, Texas Roadhouse is the place to be. It is popping in that place. All right, look.
Ain't no 6 feet.
We showed up, and they were like, yo, it's less than a 15-minute wait. You do have to call ahead. So you call ahead, get your name on the list, and you show up, and they're like, we'll let you know when to come in. They text your phone, but that took maybe, 3 minutes?
There were also still people waiting inside that little waiting area. Actually,
so we got people, everyone's got masks on, right? Except for the people at tables. Mm-hmm. But Texas Roadhouse, let me tell you, they use this as an excuse. They got tables all over the outside in the parking lot. They had every freaking table in that place packed out with people.
They have a little piece of it's not even plexiglass, I don't think. It's just straight up window panes between
It was
each.
just They put a window pane on the back of every booth, guys. This shit was hilarious. We went in there and I was like, really? This is... Because you got other restaurants that are literally... They won't let anyone sit unless it's outside.
Yeah. Like the cider place that we went to, their only seating was outside.
Texas Roadhouse had everyone in there. That shit was packed.
If you're a waitress and you aren't getting enough tables where you work, let me tell you, it's time to move over to Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, no, that was I want to say that was it was refreshing, honestly.
Yeah, you got to be somebody though who is willing to take on that kind of experience.
If you're worried,
it wasn't for everyone.
That everyone's going to give you coronavirus.
That's not the
just
place
stay
to
home.
be.
Just stay. This was not the place for you.
They had a manager though there that was really killing it. He was at all the tables every 5 seconds. He was.
You can tell he was a manager. He was a middle-aged dude, had the salt and pepper beard. And he was just motivated, though. You know, normally you got, your waiter or waitress, and I don't want to call them unmotivated, but they do their tables.
Yeah, that's all they got time for.
Exactly. They don't have time to be checking on other people's tables. Like, not their table, not their problem. But this dude went down the line, hitting every table. Yeah. And he would be like, is there anything I can get for you? You need a new water. You need a new thing of biscuits. Or
always need more rolls.
God. Those rolls are amazing there. But let me tell you, that was just the experience. Yeah. 10 out of 10, Texas Roadhouse, you're killing it. You're paving the way. Everyone in there is going to get COVID, but I tell you what.
100%.
They are the gold standard of what I want right now. That's a packed restaurant with a bunch of people eating steak.
So I think that's basically all we really had from our week/weekend.
Yeah.
So I think at this time we're going to roll right into our pre-recorded interview with Tyler. So hope you guys enjoy.
Give us a shout, Tyler. How's it doing?
It's doing well, guys. How's it going? I'm Tyler. I went to school for pharmacy in Buffalo. That's where I met Olivia.
Yep.
And we worked at the same hospital together as interns. And I've moved out here to start a pharmacy residency. And that's how I met Frank.
Yeah, he's recruited onto our stellar podcast.
I know, we have another person on the pod finally. I know we've been trying to do this forever, so...
I think it's just because I check both check boxes. I'm both a doctor and I am a major dork.
Well, let's jump right into it this week. So we're going to start off with our dork segment. I know we usually don't do it like this. Normally we do our week in review. So we're going to start off with the dork segment because just recently I've gotten back into my board game life. And I was just talking to one of my coworkers, Brian Bujak, if you're listening. I just found out he plays Gloomhaven. And as it so happens, our friend Tyler here also is a big Gloomhaven fan, which I know nothing of this board game other than the fact that it takes literally about 200 hours to play through. So imagine that, people. Monopoly on steroids for 200 hours. Only nothing like Monopoly. So,
wicked dorky.
So break it down for me, Tyler. What is this game, and is it worth getting into?
Okay, so Gloomhaven is a couple years old now. It has a pretty hefty price tag, probably around $120, $150.
Okay.
But, as you said, it does take about 200 hours to play. Now, if you've ever heard about Dungeons and Dragons and maybe have been interested in something like that, this is similar, but not quite. You don't need a dungeon master or someone running the game. You have a book. And inside the book, it has about 100 different levels, and each level takes about 2 hours to play when you get a group of friends together.
Okay. How many people are we talking here?
You could honestly do one person, but you can play up to 4. The game allows 4.
Okay.
And I honestly recommend more people the better. Nice to have just a bunch of friends over. The only issue with more people, scheduling issues.
Gotcha. All right, and so they came out with a DLC too, or another game.
Sure. So it's another game. It's technically the sequel. It's Frosthaven, and Frosthaven is very similar to Gloomhaven. So
Is it out already?
Yes and no. It's kind of hard to describe, so I'll get into that a little bit. The concept is you start with 6 unlocked characters, and as you progress through the game, you can unlock more, kind of like a video game.
Okay.
100 different levels, and as you play some levels and make decisions, you actually lock other chapters and unlock other ones. So out of the 100, you might only have 70 available to you based on your choices, which also grants replayability. You level up in the games. They have their own save system. It's a video game, basically come to a board game.
Okay.
And as for Frosthaven, it exists and it doesn't exist. Isaac, the creator of Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, released Frosthaven on Kickstarter a couple months back. So prototypes for Frosthaven exists. We got some basic models, some basic concepts, kind of a general idea for the game.
But it's not out yet.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
The only way you will be getting a copy currently before it hits the stores
This is a prototype?
is if you backed it on Kickstarter a couple months ago.
So, is there a time frame for when that one comes out?
I'm not quite sure. I've not kept up to date with my emails.
All
But I
right.
will tell you one interesting thing about Frosthaven. It broke a record.
Which one?
So,
What are we talking about here?
in 3 weeks that it was on Kickstarter, this game has become the most funded board game ever on Kickstarter.
That's it. It's replacing Monopoly for me. I'm getting this.
In 3 weeks, 21 days, this game raised just shy of $13 million.
Wow. Okay, we're definitely in the wrong
If you
fields.
gave to the Kickstarter, do you still have to buy it when it comes out, or are you covered?
No, you're covered.
Yeah.
So I've got my copy on the way in the mail as soon as they ship them out.
How
All
much
right.
was there a set amount you had to give?
Basically just covering the cost of the actual game and then shipping. And you also get the Kickstarter exclusives, so you get more content for the same price than you would if you wait for it to
okay.
hit the market.
Gotcha.
Well, that sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to go over as well. What's your most anticipated board game that you're waiting on? Because I know you got a backlog of stuff that you're looking to get. So what, maybe not something that's coming out in the future, but something that's new or coming out in the future that you're really after.
Sure. So, this is both new and old. It's from one of my favorite board game companies of all time, Awakened Realms. They're based out in Poland. I have a couple of their games, including Lords of Hellas and Fall of Avalon Tainted Grail. One of their older games, called Nemesis, is a space game, and it only takes a couple hours to play. But essentially, it's the movie Alien in a board game format, but also with several different types of aliens. So you're not multiple times that you replay the game, you can swap out the alien races, and the alien races have different abilities. Your characters have different abilities, and I'm excited to get that. Old, and then new, they released a sequel to Nemesis. It's still Nemesis, but it's like Nemesis Lockdown. So that is going to be coming in the mail. Got it off Kickstarter as well.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I might have to look into that. I'm a big Alien fan, as I've said in earlier podcasts. But, all right, the last thing I got for you that I'm really quick, I always ask everyone is, what is your favorite video game? Because that is just a staple. Olivia's got her favorite 3. I've got mine. And, there's just so many to pick from. So what did you used to play, or what are you playing now?
Favorite video game of my childhood, definitely Pokemon Fire Red.
Yes.
Played that for probably close to 600 hours. Favorite games now, hands down, easy, the Borderlands series.
Yep.
I love the art style. I love the action. The comedy cannot be beat. And I will freely admit that there are scenes where I have absolutely shed tears playing that game.
Borderlands 3 was a whole lot of fun. I don't know what I think 2 is my favorite.
2 is by far the best.
Yeah, I think 2 really was because it brought some of the original characters back. It had a whole new cast, and the storyline was completely playable again for I think you had to play it 13 times. You had to beat the game.
I don't think it had to beat it 13 times.
To get the advanced levels. Because I remember every time you beat it, you then got to play through on like a different difficulty tier, and it kept unlocking newer and better stuff.
There's like extreme true Vault Hunter mode and like ultimate Vault Hunter mode. So I think it was only like 3 times, but no, that's accurate.
God, what I'm trying to think of. There was something else too. I haven't played it in years. I haven't played it since I was in the Army, and that was one of my buddies. He had it, and I was playing with him. But there was a playthrough thing. I forget what the hell it was exactly.
We'll never know.
I know. I'll have to look it up for next time. But so Borderlands series, that is... And we were just talking about Pokemon last... So we were asking people what their favorite Pokemon game was. So Fire Red.
I was a 95 baby. Parents were not big into the video game, so I had to wait for that 3rd gen to come out to get my first Pokemon game.
I don't think any parents were a fan of 90s kids. Because my parents definitely hated that I played video games. So... Yeah. But all right, guys, so I'm going to hand this off to Olivia and Tyler. And I'm going to take the back seat and relax now and probably munch on some candy or something.
Oh, you
lucky
duck. I'm jealous. So I think to kick off the doctor section, Tyler, since he's a super smart and intelligent pharmacy resident, is going to give us a little update on a new antibiotic we should all be excited about.
I wouldn't be all too excited about it.
No?
I am thoroughly excited about it because it works.
Yeah.
It has a novel mechanism of action, which I just think is really cool. But I love more of the nerd and the science part of it necessarily more than the therapy part. And just the fact that it's a new antibiotic with a new mechanism
very rare to
is
have
very
that these
cool.
days.
Very rare, actually.
Yeah. All right, so tell us a little bit. What's it called? How's it work? For the layperson out there,
Okay. Trying to keep this as simple as possible. The drug name is Cephalosporin, and it belongs to a drug class called Cephalosporin antibiotics. Now, in terms of how it works, I like to refer to it as the Trojan horse antibiotic. So, you have iron in your body, and this drug kind of binds to the iron in your body, and then the bacteria in your body that are infecting you also need iron in order to grow, develop, divide, and cause you harm.
Yeah.
So the bacteria will take up the iron, which has this bound antibiotic to it, bring the antibiotic into the bacteria, and then release the antibiotic from the iron to allow the antibiotic to do its work and fight the infection.
Gotcha. So basically it's like hijacking the system in order to get into the bacteria, so
it is
getting a free ride.
Yeah, it is the Greeks and the iron is the Trojan horse.
All right, that's fair. Any side effects patients should be worried about, or clinicians should tell their patients if the off chance they're actually getting this drug?
Sure. So basically, if you are getting this drug, it means you have no other antibiotic options, and that likely your antibiotic, or that your infection, it's pretty deadly, and this is essentially a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
So if you ever actually need this drug, you're kind of going to be in dire straits until we have a more, I guess, tried and tested way of establishing this into therapy. So that said, since it's a Hail Mary drug, the adverse reactions, well, there are many, just like many drugs, it's either suffer these adverse reactions or risk death, to be quite honest. Some of the most common ones are cardiovascular. There's new onset atrial fibrillation, which can occur. You can get a little peripheral edema, so kind of swelling of your... It's a kind of water fluid buildup in your limbs, most commonly your ankles.
Peripheral edema?
So peripheral meaning periphery, far away from you, edema meaning swelling.
Oh, so, all right, limbs swelling with water.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds super uncomfortable.
There's skin rashes, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. Can occasionally cause blood to enter the urine. A lot of other, like, hematological side effects, which I won't necessarily get into. But honestly, compared to a lot of other drugs, these side effects are not as frequent as some of the other side effects where it's like, if you give this drug, this is going to happen in 50% of your patients.
Yeah, and like you said, you're in a pretty already, your options aren't great, so in order to weigh the risk and benefits, the benefits kind of, your chance of getting better is worth that risk, essentially. It's the only chance you got.
Absolutely. And the side effects I described, even the cardiovascular ones, I'm sure you can agree, the ones I listed compared to what is possible are actually kind of mild.
Yeah, that is true. Do you have this on formulary at your hospital? How did you hear about it now? I don't think anybody does,
absolutely not. We do not have it on formulary. On formulary for the common person means that it's readily available, that physicians can prescribe it freely. This drug is very expensive, and like I said, we only use it as a Hail Mary. We have it as a non-formulary drug, so to get approval for this drug, a physician needs to reach out to the infectious disease team, which is comprised of other doctors, other pharmacists, and other members of the infectious disease team.
Gotcha.
They will analyze the patient case themselves because they are experts when it comes to bacterial infections.
Yeah.
And based on their group combined judgment, they will give clearance to use this drug in this patient.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense. The next thing I want to talk about, which I know I didn't tell you about beforehand, so really riding by the seat of our pants, is just having a conversation about drug shortages. So I don't know if in the hospital now if there's a list of drug shortages you're going through, but I remember when we started working together at our hospital in Buffalo, I feel like that was really just the start of drug shortages. And I know when I did my residency, that list just kept growing, and I feel like now it's probably even gotten longer.
Yeah, there's a lot of drug shortages. I know one drug in particular, it typically is used to help with gastric reflux, Pepcid or the generic famotidine.
Yeah, do you know why? Did you know ranitidine was recalled?
I did know about ranitidine being recalled.
So that's probably why famotidine now is on like a peak and it's being used up like it's going out of style.
Yeah, which leads to a significant drug shortage.
That's right.
I know that we've had some opioid shortages in the past, actually.
Yeah.
But that was more, I believe, from states cracking down on opioid laws, dictating how much can be manufactured. And then the manufacturers basically had to distribute them to places that I wouldn't say needed it the most, but it really put them...
Had the highest demand or something.
Yeah, really limited the supply in certain places, which if you're a surgical hospital and you need opioids for pain management, like I know our prior hospital was, some of those opioids shortages, you were using other drugs to help control pain, and you really had to adapt.
I think a lot of that shortage, at least when I was doing my residency at my hospital, was because there was a big recall on those Carpajet injections. There were like glass fragments or something getting into them.
Yeah, especially the epinephrine ones and the sodium bicarb ones,
Yeah, which those were bad because, I mean, during a code, you're not trying to figure out how to dilute epinephrine in the middle of a situation.
Wait. Glass fragments?
Yeah.
So the idea is pretty cool. So think you've got like this tube, right, that's filled with your drug. And then you've got the plunger, essentially. And what you do is you screw in the plunger, so it comes separate in the box. You take it out, you've got your tube full of drug, and you've got your plunger that you screw in. And they're both made out of glass. You screw in your plunger, and now it's ready to go. It's a syringe loaded, ready for action. But sometimes those glass fragments, based on the manufacturing process, I'm guessing, their chips get into the glass, and that mixes with the drug in there, and you go to inject it. And now, essentially, you're injecting your patient with glass shards. Now, to be fair, I'm sure it's very rare that ever happened. But, like, once it happens one time, it's not like the FDA is going to be like, let's see if it happens a few more before we make them recall.
The last thing you ever want to do is inject a patient with actual shards of glass into their bloodstream. Like, that is just catastrophic. So, in terms of the recall, was it devastating and really hurt supply? Yes. Was it necessary? Yes. And did we have ways to come about it? We absolutely did. I know, at least back at Kenmore, I know this was after you left the hospital, For sodium bicarb, we just switched over to vials. We threw in some alcohol syringes. We got some manual syringes.
Yeah.
So it would take maybe an extra 20 seconds to draw up the medication rather than it being already pre-manufactured in this tube that you can just twist and push.
Gotcha.
But that extra 20 seconds to ensure that there's no glass in a patient, it was worth it.
Let me ask you a question I'm just curious about. Did our old hospital in Buffalo, did they have Indexinate Alpha on formulary for reversal of intracranial hemorrhages secondary to like Riva or Apixaban?
I believe we did have Indexinate Alpha.
I bet they never used it. But...
We were supposed to, but I remember that we
was
had...
on shortage. It was another one
it was on shortage
for a while.
And I remember that we had one patient that might have needed it. And the second they might have needed it, we actually put a call out to our sister hospital, which, since it was low stock, shortage, we only kept a couple little supplies because we didn't want to have a massive stock, which would then go to waste and get expired. So we, as soon as there was a hint that we might need it, we reached out and got some over. The patient did not actually end up getting it. We were able to give them K-Centra, just due to the time of the bleeding. But, yes. Was it available? Yes. Did we have it readily available? Not necessarily due to the shortage, but we had ways to get it to the patient in a timely manner so that it would not have affected patient care at all.
Makes sense. All right, that's just one of those newer drugs that I'm kind of interested in. When I did my residency, it was like only a handful of hospitals had been selected to try it, so it was like right on my way out that they'd finally open the gate to let other people at it. So I was just kind of interested about that. The last thing I'm interested in is, do you do any IV compounding at your residency, or like, are you going to have to?
Currently, no. I think it's going to be very similar to Kenmore, where only techs and interns are going to do the IV compounding because it's more important for the pharmacist to check. Now, I know over at Smilo, the oncology center, I'm not sure if pharmacists are involved in the compounding process. I still think it might mostly be technicians, but it's completely pharmacist oversight. Basically watching them to make sure they compound the product correctly. So I honestly don't know. If it does come up in my residency, I've been doing it for the last 4.5 years, and I'll be able to knock it out of the park, I believe. But
that's fair. I've been wondering how they've been handling like the lack of PPE in those situations. You know what I mean?
Well, there was a lot of lack of PPE at the start of the coronavirus.
Yeah, but they're catching up.
Yeah, from my understanding, especially as the New England area has been improving, the shortage that there was in the beginning, we've kind of have caught up. So we're no longer, I know back in Buffalo, we had a 1 mask per shift kind of policy. And while masks are still, I won't say necessarily in short supply, but not as bountiful as they once were. You can now have outside approved masks just on the general floors. Still need the specialized ones for the IV room. And you're still kind of conserving them, but the need for PPE, well, still great, and I don't want to downplay it. There is still a need for PPE. We are not at pre-coronavirus levels. It is not as extreme as it was back at the end of March, beginning of April. We have caught up a little bit.
So it sounds like you guys are just playing catch up, though.
In New England, maybe, but I won't speculate to the situation like down in Florida, down in California.
I'll say it. The country's losing its freaking mind right now.
I'll give a shout out to Connecticut, though. Dr. Fauci gave us some big kudos on
yes, he did.
We're doing so, pat ourselves on the back for that one.
We're better than the rest of the country for once.
But it does worry me because Florida, Texas, California, they're now experiencing COVID levels similar to the New England area at the start. And from my understanding, their need for PPE has greatly increased. And they're now going through extreme conservatory methods to preserve the PPE. So while we might be good up here, nationally, we're still kind of in a pickle.
It's wild just to think about. Like, I remember being an intern at our hospital, and it was like, I'd go in the IV room 5 times a day, and every time I'd rip off my hat and my mask, I'd throw it away, and without even thinking, I'd put a brand new one on. Like,
Yeah.
what a waste.
Balling out. I'm only using one mask a month.
A decade.
I think I'm on my second mask for COVID.
Do not recommend that,
all right.
listeners. But
well,
I think that's all
I think that's all we got this week. You got any final remarks, Tyler? Thank you for coming on to the podcast with us.
Yes.
Final remarks. I just want to thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure talking both dorking out about board games and also doctoring out about medicine.
All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next week on episode 11. I have no idea where we're going to be at that time. Maybe we'll have some camping stuff then.
Maybe.
But we'll talk to you then. We're going to go get some dinner.
Yeah.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye.